So Target's under attack at the moment by the right. I think there were something like 3 bomb threats called in different states, Utah being one of them. The right is not happy with Target right now. As a matter of fact, not long ago, just, a month ago or something like that, they were losing their minds over Bud Light. They always seem to have something to, attack and complain about and hate. It's bizarre. So what's going on with Target right now? This is the reason I even bring this up is because it reveals the propaganda that's used to motivate a group of people to commit hate crimes, basically. And trust me, calling in a bomb threat to a retail store because you don't like what you think that they're selling, that's most definitely terrorism, and it's most definitely extremism and hatred. Hate. Pointless, meaningless hate. So I'll tell you what, let's watch this guy here. His name's Gene Bailey. He's the host of a show called Flashpoint, which is on the Victory Network, owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. I talk about him a lot, dude. I love talking about Gene Bailey. He's about to tell us why he hates Target. Let's really dissect this and talk about exactly what's going on from a propaganda angle. Also, while we watch these guys spread their nutter buttery all over everything, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild 2. Going to play some, it's called Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, we're going to just hit a couple of shrines. Shouldn't be any spoilers or not, game's been out for a while anyway, so you're only going to see normal things that happen in the entire game, so. Okay, let's give this a listen. Gene Bailey, while we play Tears of the Kingdom.
As if shopping wasn't hard enough. You wouldn't believe what you're seeing at your local Target. Look at this tweet. I try to stay out of Target as much as possible, but this is the very first thing you see when you walk in the store right now. It's displayed there because they want kids to see it.
Okay, so if you're looking at the screen right now and not listening, you'll see that they're showing just normal stuff. Queer all year, a shirt that says queer, 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 a rainbow, just kind of normal things by and large at a Target store. I mean, this is just normal apparel that pertains to the LGBT community. Now, what was that about? Did he say something about children? What does this have to do with children?
You see when you walk in the store right now. It's displayed there because they want...
Okay, maybe he didn't say anything about children, and I'm just reading into it. Okay, go on.
Kids to see it.
Oh, there it is. They want kids to see it. They display it because they want kids to see it. Are you serious? How can you... I don't understand. I guess what he's saying is he believes that anything that is ever on display in a store is there because they want children to see these things, right? He's saying that when they put things on display in stores, the entire point, the intent is so that children will see these items. Apparently, there's this propaganda video that was floating around that started this whole mess, that started this hatred in the first place. So he's about to play it. He's about to show us what got people revved up about this. Just keep listening here.
It's all programming. Everywhere you go, stay out of Target. It's obnoxious. Look.
It's all programming.
And you see all of the stuff. You just got to watch this clip. Let me play it. Watch.
Okay, so he's about to play the propaganda video. I think it's like a TikTok or something that started it all.
Target, because I heard that their new Pride collection was out. So let's take a look. This is a special swimsuit. It is invented for tucking.
Okay, now what she's trying to do is portray this as something that was designed for children, that appeals to children, that was being marketed to children. But guess what? None of it was. Not one bit. Now, would I be opposed to, I don't know, say Target marketing to 17-year-olds? No, I don't care who they market to, honestly. But this is not marketed to kids. This whole tucking thing, this was specifically marketed to adults, not children. But it's really, really fascinating to see how they twist it around to make it seem as though it was advertised for children. So I'm actually going to pause the game for a second, and we're going to listen closely and watch this video as closely as possible. Because there are a couple things I want to point out. Watch this.
Live, laugh, lesbian. Are they amoebas? These don't even look like people. Queer.
Yeah, so these things, they didn't seem like pro-gay or like gay anything. I mean, the live, laugh, lesbian thing, sure, okay. What was this thing about people?
Tucking. Live, laugh, lesbian. Are they amoebas?
Well, they're not. This isn't even pro-gay. This is just a shirt, right?
These don't even look like people.
What's pro-gay about this?
Queer.
Okay, I can see that one.
This right here.
What is gay about this? There's nothing. It's got a bumblebee on it and a mermaid. I don't understand. What are we outraged about with this?
These are baby clothes.
Yeah, they're normal baby clothes. There's nothing like pervasive or questionable about any of this. Not that I'd have a problem with that, but that's not what's happening.
They say that grooming isn't happening, then why are there pride baby ones?
There aren't. There were not pride baby onesies. They're normal baby onesies. Just be you and feel the love is what this one said. That's not a pride baby onesie. It's just a baby onesie. See how this worked? They didn't have any pride gear marketed to children. None at these Target stores. Literally not one item targeted to children, okay? Not even like children's sizes. Nothing. So what does she do? She goes to the baby section or the children's section, finds something that could plausibly maybe kind of be interpreted as being pro-pride, like just be you. Yeah, that's a pro-pride message, right? Just be yourself. That's pretty gay to be yourself. So just grab this onesie, since it's like a gay onesie, right? And show this as one of the items that is pro-pride, like a baby onesie that is trying to brainwash your children to be gay or to be trans. They say grooming isn't happening. It's not. It's not happening. You live in a fantasy land.
Say that grooming isn't happening, then why are there pride baby onesies? Trans people will always exist.
Well, that's just true, whether you like it or not. And again, that's not marketed to children. That's just like a shirt that an adult can purchase if they choose. What happened to all of this, like, libertarian whatever, like, do whatever you want? Like, whatever happened to that? Freedom! What happened to the whole freedom crowd? My First Amendment right. What happened to that? Suddenly, it goes right out the window when the other side says something they don't like, which is as simple as trans people will always exist.
This is the ugliest shirt I've ever seen. I don't care if you're queer. Why would you wear this? This is ugly. Kids go.
I mean, I get it. I think it would be like outfit dependent. I can see how it could fit certain outfits, but I agree. Generally, I think it's ugly.
Ugliest shirt I've ever seen. I don't care if you're queer. Why would you wear this? This is ugly. Kids going to a pride parade.
Okay, so she goes to the children's section and finds a rainbow-colored, like outfit or skirt or whatever for girls. That doesn't mean they support pride. That means it's a rainbow. Okay, I had an umbrella that was a rainbow also. Is any rainbow suddenly just associated with gayness, no matter what the context, no matter where it is or who is selling it or possessing it or anything like that? I thought you guys were trying to take back the rainbow. Wasn't there this big push by Ken Ham a while back, the creator of the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter, to take back the rainbow, quote unquote? I'm pretty sure there's a big push for that by him. How are you going to take back the rainbow if you're complaining about every rainbow, everything that you see in a store, even when it's not associated with pride anything? See how they did this? None of this stuff's marketed to children. It's just stuff. So she goes to the children's section and finds things and claims that they had a gay children's section when they didn't. That's how this propaganda works. And let me show you why that's important, okay? I saw this comic earlier. There's a guy chasing a woman and it says, "Help!" The woman says, "Help. He's attacking me." And then the guy says, "Ah!" And two people crowd around and say, "What's wrong?" The guy says, "She misgendered me. I'm a Z-Zim." It just obvious, like nobody is like this. This is a completely unrealistic depiction of reality. But you know what? It gets moderates on extremists' side. You remember what Martin Luther King Jr. said about white moderates? Nothing worse than the white moderate, something to that effect, right? Let me just tell you how this works generally. This is how the propaganda works. This is how they spread it. They give an argument that they believe to be appealing or they believe might convince a moderate. They give an argument they think might convince them. Like back in the 60s, in the 50s, when the civil rights movement was going on, people were fighting, for integration to end segregation. You know what the KKK said? They went around and told everybody that white people were going to, or liberals were going to force children, or just going to force your kids to marry a black person. You're going to be forced to, because that's part of integration. That's what integration is. You forced to marry a black person, and if you don't, then you're going to get in trouble with the law or something to that effect. They were going around giving that argument. You know why? Because it scares the shit out of people. It scares moderates into doing something, into taking their side, because they believe it. They present an absolutely absurd situation that is not a representation of reality so that they can convince white moderates to support them, just like the KKK. And what is the moderate propaganda wing doing now? Like, what are they doing to try to bring in the moderates? In this case, this woman that we're listening to is claiming that the extreme left is appealing to children, is trying to, brainwash children in their belief system or whatever. Completely made up, but it scares the shit out of moderates, right? That's the goal. That's the whole idea. That's what it's all about. So anyways, that's the point here. This is literally the exact same tactic the KKK used in every way. Same tactics. Think about that.
I don't care if you're queer. Why would you wear this? This is ugly. Kids go into a pride parade. You get a little pride skirt for your kid. Super queer. It's like a superpower. Honestly, Target, what is going on? This is pretty disgusting.
Check it out. Hang on. Watch the shirts as they flip by. Okay? Check this out.
It's like a superpower. Honestly, Target, what is going on?
Cure transphobia, not trans people. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Again, all of these were marketed to adults. They were all adult sizes, not children's sizes.
This is pretty disgusting.
God, they're just flipping by. Sorry, can't think straight. Homophobia, transphobia can be cured with education. Oh, I love it.
A whole collection for...
Whoa.
Okay.
Jeez, they just kind of jumped away suddenly when that shirt popped up. That's weird, right? I guess they don't want people paying attention to what that one shirt said.
The Target, what is going on? This is pretty disgusting. A whole collection for...
Okay, look, it goes on and on. But look, this isn't over. Look, of all things, Skittles has gotten into it. Look at this. They're early start on Pride Month with their lesbian, queer, trans, gay Skittles.
Okay, again, don't believe any of this. I seriously doubt what's being said here. I have doubts about all of this stuff. I have no idea if any of this stuff is true that they're laying out here. This could be complete. I mean, I don't put it past these people to make up screenshots, to Photoshop them, because I've seen that before. I've seen them fabricate screenshots before. No joke. That's not unusual for this crowd. So don't trust anything that you see. Maybe Skittles is doing that. So what? Who cares? It's the free market, right? Let the free market decide.
You know, this is why I stick with peanut M&Ms, because I haven't. God, please protect peanut M&Ms.
Oh my God, they're owned by the same company, you poor fool. I love it. This is why I eat peanut M&Ms and not Skittles. What's it like to live in a state of constant embarrassment like this? Do they even feel embarrassment? Is that an emotion or an experience that they usually have? Simply crazy, man.
Because no, you're shaking. My wife is shaking her head at me.
M&M's no.
M&M's are no too. All right.
What's it like to close off everything that you could be interested or everything that you could like or enjoy or appreciate? I mean, seriously, what's the point? What's the point in living life if you're constantly worried about, like, buying from a brand that is, like, not going to, like, make you happy or whatever? See, this is why we should just, like, this is why companies shouldn't get involved in politics at all. They should just accept and love everybody. That's all I want. Accept and love everybody. Problem solved, right? Yeah, I don't know where the hell this shrine is. I'm just moving to the next one. Why is that such a problem? That's the thing they have a problem with. Seriously. Did you see the baby onesie earlier? It says, love and accept yourself or something. That's the thing they have a problem with. Loving and accepting. This is insane. You know, I'm kind of getting at the heart of something called the paradox of intolerance. So the paradox of intolerance, if you're unfamiliar, is the heart of it is, should you be tolerant of intolerance? Like, if people are being intolerant about other people, or it's, think about it like this. If people are anti-democracy, should they be involved in democracy to any degree? If they're trying to destroy democracy, should we allow people like that into democracy? Germany said no. Germany banned people from participating in their democracy if they were anti-democratic, if they opposed democracy. That's the paradox of intolerance. We have to accept intolerance if we are to be tolerant. But here's the thing about it. You don't. When you view the paradox of tolerance as, and not as like a moral system, but like a social contract, it changes your entire perspective on it. Okay, these people are basically agreeing to a social contract, right? If you want to be accepted by society, be a part of it, or be accepted in a democracy, be a part of it to any degree, then you have to agree to support democratic ideas. You have to agree to, you know, not hate people based on the, you know, I'm talking about the tolerance thing. If you want to sign the tolerance social contract and live in a tolerant society that tolerates your ass-backwards ideas, even the absolutely ass-backwardiest of ideas, then you have to agree to be tolerant of other people's ideas. You can't realistically ask people to be tolerant of your idea of intolerance. That's the paradox of intolerance. But it's not a paradox, in my opinion. Simply put, it is a social contract that these people are not agreeing to. So anyways, let's keep listening to what he says here.
Wife is shaking her head at me.
M&M's no.
M&M's are no too. All right, I guess I'm going on a diet. All right, so there you go. So much.
Wait, are you telling me that like you eat M&Ms so much that refusing to eat them constitutes you going on a diet? That doesn't sound good.
Or no too. All right, I guess I'm going on a diet. All right, so there you go. So much is happening. Let me go to you, Luke Ball, out of this. What is going on? Has the world gone nuts?
Okay, Luke Ball is a Republican strategist. He's a far-right extremist, and he did strategy for, I think, Matt Gaetz, Madison Cawthorn, maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not even sure if Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the list, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, he is terrible in every way. Just awful, this dude is. Like, he's one of the people that runs things behind the scenes and is absolutely psychotic. Like, Jesus Christ, this guy's terrible. But okay, let's listen.
Well, it has, but we're going to be shopping at Chick-fil-A, Buc-ee's, and maybe eating Dots pretzels for the rest of our lives. So
Yes.
We're going to be all right. We're going to survive. It's going to be okay. But to the larger point of how they're pushing this trans agenda onto our children, it breaks my heart. I've said it so many times.
Okay, this is not happening. Again, they're using the video that we watched earlier as the basis to claim that they are propagandizing to children. That's not happening. None of that stuff was for kids. And even if it was, you know, children need experience in the real world. They need experience with different people, with diversity. So I'd actually be all for it personally, but okay. I mean, this is them using the same KKK propaganda all the way back from like the 50s, 60s, even earlier than that. Hell, 1800s. Appeal to white moderates. Make people think that, they're coming for the children, and you will scare them enough that they will vote any way you tell them to. For what it's worth, this is a phenomenon called a moral panic, and it's been studied by sociologists for many, many years. There's actually like a list of things that you can expect from a moral panic, like a process in which, or the course that a moral panic runs. Just take a look at this. This is a Wikipedia page for it. So one of the researchers' name is Cohen. Stanley Cohen is his name. He wrote a book about moral panics in 1972 called Folk Devils and Moral Panics. 1972, okay? That's how far back. This is before the Satanic Panic, the most famous panic of our day. Check out the list that he gave. These are the 5 things that you can expect in a moral panic, like the stages or whatever. Number 1, according to Cohen, there are 5 sequential stages in the construction of a moral panic. Number 1, an event, condition, episode, person, or group of persons is perceived and defined as a threat to societal values, to safety and interests. So there's somebody out there in society that's a danger to it. They're coming after somebody. Number 2, the nature of these apparent threats are amplified by the mass media, who present the supposed threat through simplistic, symbolic rhetoric. Such portrayals appeal to public prejudices, creating an evil in need of social control, folk devils, and victims, the moral majority. Number 3, a sense of social anxiety and concern among the public is aroused through these symbolic representations of a threat. Number 4, the gatekeepers of morality, editors, religious leaders, politicians, and other moral thinking people, quote unquote, respond to the threat with socially accredited experts pronouncing their diagnoses and solutions to the threat. This includes new laws or policies. The condition then disappears, submerges, or deteriorates and becomes more visible. It says here, Cohen observed further, sometimes the object of the panic is quite novel, and at other times it's something which has been in existence long enough, but suddenly appears in the limelight. Like, trans people have been around since forever. This isn't like a new thing, right? But cell phones and cell phone use would be a good example of something that there's kind of a moral panic over. Like, oh my God, everybody is using cell phones now. Like, what are we going to do, right? That was a moral panic, albeit in a much less extreme way. A less extreme version of a moral panic, put it that way. Oh my God, cell phones, or hell, before cell phones, there was other stuff. There were other things that people were panicking over. Before the internet, before cell phones, people panic over all kinds of stuff, over the telegraph, over, books. People used to say, oh my God, people always have their nose in books constantly. Why don't you get your nose out of the book and go play outside? And then it was TVs. And now that's like how a moral panic works. And now we have a serious moral panic, a real moral panic that really has deeply damaging effects, like putting people in danger, like bomb threats to retail stores, like Targets. Now we have a moral panic to that degree, and it becomes a lot easier to see. It becomes a lot clearer, a lot more delineated, more obvious, just like the Satanic Panic. So anyways, it says here, sometimes the panic passes over and is forgotten, except in folklore and collective memory. At other times, it has more serious and long-lasting repercussions and might produce such changes as those in legal and social policy, or even in the way the society conceives itself. So, God, I've got to read this book. I'm probably going to read it now that I think about it. Anyway, it's fascinating and disturbing at the same time. Let's keep listening to Luke Ball perpetuate this moral panic here.
Point of how they're pushing this trans agenda onto our children, it breaks my heart. I've said it so many times before. Why is it so important that the left get to our children?
It's not. That's not happening. This is fabricated. Does he know that? Do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that this guy knows that it's fabricated and he is setting out to be deceitful? I mean, he's a Republican strategist, a.k.a. propagandist. That's his job. He's a propagandist. So it makes me wonder, like, does this guy know? Does he know that he's completely full of it? Is he aware that there isn't this big grooming effort?
And why is it so important to Christians that we care about this? It's because children are a picture of salvation. They are God's gift to us to show how childlike faith can lead to eternal salvation in Jesus Christ. I was reading in Romans chapter 1 today, and a lot of times preachers point to this.
Okay, wait a minute. I that made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I just want to point out that made no sense. I don't want him to, like, get away with that. That was just complete garbage. So he's saying children are the picture of moral virtue, basically, and that's why they are trying to corrupt them, they being the left. Anybody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport. Is that what he's saying?
Verse on a stance that Christians have on homosexuality and this agenda, but I saw a couple things that I had not thought of in a while, because there is a guarantee in Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1 verse 25, where does it start out? Where does this whole agenda come from? It says that they exchanged the truth of God for a lie. That's what's happening in our society. We remove Christianity and the Bible from our classrooms. We replace
Okay. That the Bible was never intended to be in the classroom, and it was never, I think it was used as a teaching tool for, like, I don't know, until like the 1800s or something. Like, I'm not even sure how long it was used as a teaching aid in, like, classrooms, but certainly not every classroom, maybe in the South. But eventually, like, 100 years ago, minimum, they removed the Bible as a teaching tool in the classroom, I believe, because it was very obviously a violation of the separation of church and state, right? Like, clear as day violation. But okay, go on.
Replace it with humanism. We fill this void.
Wait, we replaced the Bible with humanism.
Of wanting to worship some.
Sorry, let me step back so we can hear it in context.
Of God for a lie. That's what's happening in our society. We remove Christianity and the Bible from our classrooms. We replace it with humanism. We fill this void of wanting to worship something. Instead of worshiping God, we worship ourselves. And so they've got that gift.
No, I don't worship anything. I think worshiping things is not good. I'm not a fan. I would personally prefer it that you don't. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Guarantee in there. And then over in verse 26, it says, because of this, God gave them over to shameful lust. In verse 2 of chapter 2, now we know that God's judgment against those who do such things is based on truth. So we're not just exchanging an agenda, a Christian agenda, for a woke agenda. We're not just exchanging teaching our children the principles of the Bible for teaching them woke, horrific transgenderism.
Wokeism! Sheeple!
We are exchanging the truth for a lie collectively as a society, not as Christians when I say we, but I mean the United States of America. And it's why we're pushing so hard back on it, because we're so deeply passionate, not just about this next generation, but for the people who are involved in it right now, because the Bible tells us there is redemption for those people if they just see the truth through the law and are pointed back to the grace through Jesus Christ that is offered freely from the one who gives us eternal life.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but again, he's a propagandist. That is his job, to propagandize to people. Seriously. I didn't know that was a job that people had regularly, but sure enough, that's his job. So don't trust a word out of his mouth. I have no idea what he's talking about. Let's keep listening.
Excellent word. Yeah, thanks, Luke. Let me bring in John Solomon, our third guest with 3 decades of experience, success in the world of journalism and media. He's the CEO and editor-in-chief of Just the News. John, I want you to weigh in on this. It seems like we are being forced a diet of the LGBTQIA++, whatever it is.
Who's being forced anything? Nobody's being forced nothing's being forced on anybody. Like, what are you talking about? You live in a fantasy land.
agenda. What is going on, and what can we do to fight this?
Well, listen, I've been chronicling this for about 10 years. About 2010, 2011, a major teachers union.
He says he's been chronicling this for 10 years. That is just insane.
Figure went to the United Nations and laid out a new education agenda for the world. And right after that occurred, a gauntlet was laid down in American schools, and things like critical race theory started to be taught, that your skin color determines whether you're an oppressor or you're going to be oppressed.
That's absurd. Critical race theory is it's a graduate level course. It's the kind of thing that people take in grad school, in like their 6th, 7th year of school, maybe 8th, depending on, whatever. CRT, critical race theory, is not being taught anywhere except for, graduate level classrooms. This is just insane. But you notice what they're doing here. You remember this moral panic list? Which one is this on the list? The nature of these apparent threats are amplified by mass media. The Victory Network is considered mass media. It's Kenneth Copeland's TV network. It's like Oxygen or E or Cartoon Network or Fox or like Nickelodeon or Disney. The nature of these apparent threats are amplified by mass media, who present the supposed threat through simplistic, symbolic rhetoric, such portrayals appeal to public prejudices, creating an evil in need of social control. A sense of social anxiety and concern among the public is aroused through these symbolic representations of the threat. And here's the key right here. Number 4. The gatekeepers of morality, editors, religious leaders, politicians, and other moral thinking people, quote unquote, or self-proclaimed moral thinking people, respond to the threat with socially accredited experts pronouncing their diagnosis and solutions to the threat. So here we have mass media, the Victory Network, getting some self-proclaimed social expert online here to talk to us about what's wrong and how you can fix it. John Solomon, editor-in-chief of JustTheNews.com. Just the News is a far-right outlet, I think. I don't remember. Isn't that fascinating? This follows the exact pattern, like to a T. It's weird how similar or how easy it is to predict this.
The gauntlet was laid down in American schools, and things like critical race theory started to be taught, that your skin color determines whether you're an oppressor or you're going to be oppressed, that you really have no choice in it, completely defying everything that Martin Luther King Jr. taught this great country. They began to touch things like there are more than men and women, even though the science tells us that there aren't more than men and women.
Okay, science doesn't say anything about gender, really. There have been almost little to no studies done on gender and how it plays out in the brain or interacts in the brain or whatever. So he can't say the science tells us anything about it, honestly. And you know what? Whatever the science says, I go with every time. No matter how uncomfortable that is to anybody or whatever, I go with it. He just hasn't established his position. It's completely made up. As far as I can tell, gender identity, the way that you kind of define yourself, is on a spectrum, as far as I can tell. Again, I'm willing to go wherever the science takes me. I don't care. I'm willing to accept whatever science is out there as long as it's sound, legitimate science and the information's been obtained in an ethical way. I will accept the science every time. He's just wrong here.
And you can't choose. Your God-given body is how you or your gender is. They began to teach things like Americans.
Wait a minute. Let's step back. Listen to this one more time.
They began to touch things like there are more than men and women, even though the science tells us that there aren't more than men and women. And you can't choose. Your God-given body is how you or your gender is.
You can't choose. I mean, this sounds really, really similar to what the KKK was saying all the way back in the 1960s, right? You can't choose. You're not allowed to choose. You're going to be forbidden from choosing. You're going to be forced to marry a black person because, we want integration. Your choice, your freedom of choice will be taken away. Sounds familiar at all? Sound similar?
Are more than men and women, even though the science tells us that there aren't more than men and women, and you can't choose. Your God-given body is how you or your gender is. They began to teach things like Americans' founders were nothing but slaveholders. They weren't great men. They were elitists who actually have a dark history that casts the fall to this day on our country.
So the thing that we were reading about moral panics earlier made a point about weasel words. It didn't reference weasel words, but that's what it's called when you talk about some ambiguous group out there like threatening and trying to ruin people's lives or whatever. Oh my God, I did. I just messed this up. I'm not supposed to do that. Oh, okay, I can reach it still. I was trying to be clever and do something with the thing that I thought it wanted me to do. Anyways, so you notice he's using weasel words. If you don't know what weasel words are, it's where they refer to some authority, some group out there that's unnamed, that doesn't, have any kind of, like, he refers to them as they. It's just simply they. So they are out there trying to further this moral contagion nefariously. Which step is this on the flow chart there, on the the moral panic list? It's got to be one of the steps, right? Referring to some group out there, some evil group that's like out to get you or whatever?
That America wasn't really founded under God. These are things you can find in an entire generation and a half of young adults. Many of the young adults in the early parts of their life now in American society, in jobs, in corporations, in politics, in sports, were taught these things. And so,
well, that's accurate. The U.S. was not founded on biblical principles. To believe otherwise is to live in a delusion. Simple as that. It's nonsense.
So they weren't given the civics lessons that we got. And as a result, the hearts and minds of young voters and now young leaders in this country have a very different perspective on America than those of us who grew up in the first 246 years of this great country.
Oh, so things are different now than they used to be. See, if things were the same as they used to be, it'd be a lot better. But things are changing, and that's a bad thing. They live in a fantasy, man. I'm telling you. They live in a fantasy land.
So true, John. Let me go to Lucas Miles.
No, it's not true. Like, there's nothing true about it.
We grew up in the first 246 years of this great country.
So true, John. Let me go to Lucas Miles. Lucas, when you see this, I know this book, Woke Jesus, I'm sure you probably hit it all in there, but I want to understand.
Woke Jesus.
And is this where the church has failed with this generation? Because it seems like for most of us, we kind of knew it was out there, but then suddenly, within the last 2 years, and I'm sure it's this administration, they feel like they're, the progressives are in charge. They can push this.
Okay. Biden? A progressive? I'm sorry? Dude is practically a Republican, or not so much anymore. To be fair, he has governed more to the left than he did when he was a senator or whatever. But to call Biden like a progressive, what? Absolutely unhinged from reality. I'm telling you.
Administration, they feel like.
And it's the administration's fault. Everything is the administration's fault. Everything's Biden's fault. Biden is intentionally setting out to brainwash your children.
They're, the progressives are in charge. They can push this agenda down our throats. But it's not just outside the church, it's inside the church as well, Lucas.
Push this agenda down our throats. There's some your mom joke in here somewhere, right? I don't know where exactly. Somebody finish that for me in the comments.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, first off, I think it's important to understand when we're talking about the corporate side of this, that ESG scores and CEI scores and all of these things are a major factor in this. We look at this and we say, are these companies this stupid that they're gonna put this, ad campaign out there and lose, 25% of their business? They're not that stupid. They're doing.
I guess he's referring to Skittles. Is that right? Because they had that thing on there about the rainbow or whatever.
Campaign out there and lose, 25% of their business. They're not that stupid. They're doing this for very specific reasons, and it gives them access to, better funding or liquid capital because of the rewards are associated with ESG and CEI.
Okay, I don't know what those things are, ESG and CEI. I should look that up because I bet that's something really significant within Trump circles. Because these people are most definitely Trump extremists. But, so I guess what he's saying here, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's a cabal that pulls strings behind the scenes and makes it so that, and pays people. Basically, Target gets rewarded with lots and lots and lots of money. Their stock can drop 25%, and they're still profiting because George Soros is paying them to blah, 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 whatever, right? I mean, am I correct in what he said? That's what it sounds like to me.
And you're right, the church is not immune to this. There has been dark money flowing into Christian nonprofits, to Bible colleges, to all sorts of organizations within Christianity.
Wow, even Christianity is corrupt. They're taking money from Big Gay. I guess it's Big Gay, right? Even Christianity. So you got to get with our Christian group. Can't be just any. It has to be this very specific version of Pentecostalism that they follow, evangelicalism. It's not just, and you know what? Evangelical used to cover a wide variety of religions or religious denominations. No longer, really. Evangelicalism is now effectively what these guys believe in. It is now effectively an extremist ideology. If you call yourself an evangelical in today's climate, you're just incorrect. If you don't believe like these guys, they've successfully co-opted the entire belief system effectively. And not just co-opted the belief system, but co-opted like the reputation. Zippy, I hope these backwards people don't win because it's people like this that wouldn't want my husband and I to be together today. He's black, I'm white. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. For what it's worth, I don't want you guys to get like all freaked out over this. Like, this group of people makes up a very small subset of the population. They're not enough to worry about, honestly. These people are extremists, and they do hold political power, but largely they don't hold enough power to take enough positions to really mess things up. They did in 2016, but they played their hand. And in my personal opinion, I don't think that, we've seen a massive wave of, for example, Gen Z voters come out to stop this. People don't want their abortion rights taken away. People don't want religious extremism. They simply don't want it. So Gen Z is largely stepped up. And not just Gen Z either. Lots of other demographics have stepped up to put a damper on the political power that these people were wielding. So, again, I don't want you to get freaked out. I don't think being freaked out over things is valuable. At least it shouldn't be viewed that way. So just do your best and don't worry about the rest. You have a moral and a civic obligation to vote. You must. You must vote. If you don't, you're contributing to this. But don't freak out, Just do what you can and move on.
Colleges, to all sorts of organizations within Christianity where there has been a slow erosion at orthodoxy in order to convince certain Christians that this is what Jesus looks like, that Jesus is trans affirming. We've seen Bible college,
Well, Jesus didn't hate anybody for anything. Jesus was all about love, whether you like that fact or not. Jesus was all about love. I'm sorry. If you don't like that, then suck it.
This is what Jesus looks like, that Jesus is trans affirming. We've seen Bible college, theology students and write dissertations about how Jesus was transgender. And so,
I'm sorry? What are you talking about? There are Bible colleges that have people that write dissertations on how Jesus was trans. What the hell are you talking about right now? You live in a fantasy land. Please come back to reality with the rest of us. I am begging you.
So, this is an all-out assault on absolute truth, on the created order, and Christians have to wake up to this. We were behind when it came to, I think, the abortion issue, gay marriage, etc., and we're already behind on this issue as believers. It's really important that we educate ourselves and that we're able to stand for the truth and always be prepared to give an answer when we're asked.
And the truth is really very simple. If you read your Bible, it's all in there. There really is no, well, I don't know. It's in.
Yeah, there is. You know why? Jesus didn't say a word about the gay community. And presumably, you believe he was God, right? The Trinity is not in the Bible. Jesus didn't believe that he was God, but okay. That's one of the things Jehovah's Witnesses get correct. Trinity is not biblical. But okay, you know what? Fine. Let's assume he believed he was God. That means he was well aware of the past, the present, and the future, right? He was well aware that his words would be pored over and picked apart for the next thousands of years. For thousands of years, they'll be pulled apart. And he didn't think to include something about how much he hated the gay community or about how much he hated anybody? Really? Okay. Seems to me if it was an important issue to him, he would have mentioned it at least once. Just seems to me. I mean, I could be wrong, I suppose. I'm not the theologian here.
In there. That's in there. And well, let me show you this. Last week we were.
He says it's in there. Where? Tell me where. Where did Jesus talk about this stuff exactly?
In Nashville, we had Riley Gaines on as our special guest. But listen, she tweeted this today. I don't understand why companies are voluntarily doing this to themselves. They could have at least said the swimsuit is unisex, but they didn't because it's about erasing women. Ever wondered why we hardly see this go the other way? Women's swimsuits aren't accessorized with a bull.
Oh, they're going down the turf road now. Yeah, okay. Interesting. They're trying to kind of attach themselves to the turf movement. If you're unfamiliar with this term or the movement or what it means or whatever else, TERFs are basically, it means trans exclusionary radical feminists. And it is what, what's her name? Oh my God. J.K. Rowling, yeah. It is what J.K. Rowling identifies as. She identifies as a TERF. J.K. Rowling is friends with Ben Shapiro. Close friends. Well, they've at least done things together, the bare minimum. Like, they've talked to each other publicly and done videos and things like that. So, J.K. Rowling identifies as a TERF, and as a result, kind of moved to the right. Like, the whole TERF thing is very much a right-wing psyop, if you will. I mean, I don't like using that term, but it's just like a right-wing thing. The whole TERF thing only exists to further the beliefs and ideologies of the right. Nothing more. So anyways, yeah, that's what they're doing here. This is a feminist issue. You don't care about women if you don't hate trans people. I'm sorry, what? Where did all this come from?
Let me go back to you, John, on this. I mean, she brings up a good point. Companies are, is there pressure? Is the pressure from being cool and woke, or is it the pressure because they're really getting so many people that want to buy this stuff? Wait, have you got any input there?
Dude, okay, so I guess what they're saying is, do people like really want to buy this, or is this just like, does this really exist, or is this just fake? Is this a complete psyop? I suppose is the real question, right? Love it. Okay, go on. Let's hear his answer. Do people really like this? Do people really want to be trans affirming? Or just not hate somebody for who they are? The gall, right?
Well, listen, a lot of the reporting I've done in the last couple of years, the pressure's coming from young employees that came out of those schools that we just talked about. Now they've come into the workforce and they've literally taken over the encampment. The corporations are catering to these young workers and the young marketplace that they're trying to get
Of course, young people are like the enemy of everything. Absolutely.
hold on. And in so doing, they're beginning to destroy deep alliances that they've had with their customer base. Just think about what Bud Light's gone through, what Disney's gone through. I think more companies are going to go through painful multi-billion-dollar losses because
Well, see, that's the interesting thing about it, honestly. Bud Light didn't really suffer at all. Almost at all. In fact, their stock price raised, didn't it? I believe it went up. I mean, it's been a while since I checked. Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. I think after this whole controversy, Bud Light's stock price increased. How about that? Even though, Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, is that how it's said? Anheuser-Busch? Even though Anheuser-Busch donates to Republican extremist causes on a regular basis. They are not like the liberal bastion that these people want to make them out to be.
Being to a few, they have eroded the trust of their many. And I think that's a bad corporate policy, right? The corporations have a responsibility to return money on investment and to serve their customers. And right now, they're failing at that by catering to a small minority of voices in the country and ignoring the vast majority of them, the silent majority, as Ronald Reagan once called them.
Wow, that's fascinating. The thing, like what do you call it? Like I didn't even think about that. God, this shrine is actually kind of complicated. I'm doing my best here, but I'll get it eventually. I didn't even think about those little guards there. How do I get past those? See, this is a super interesting game. If you haven't played it, you should. Anyways, wasn't that in the moral panic thing? Hang on. Let's see here. Like in the list of moral panics, wasn't he talking about the silent majority? Moral thinking people. Yeah, here we go. Number 2. Such portrayals appeal to public prejudices, creating an evil in need of social control, folk devils, and victims, the moral majority. The moral majority. I think, didn't Jerry Falwell Sr. use the term moral majority constantly? He believed that he had the moral majority, or he was like part of the moral majority or whatever other thing. As it turns out, that's completely made up. Like, evangelical extremists like Jerry Falwell Sr. were not the moral majority. They weren't the majority at all. They are the minority by far. But he wanted to portray himself and his movement as the majority.
That's true. But the silent majority, they're the ones with the money. They're the ones that spend money, the everyday moms and dads and the people that don't believe this way. Of course, we know that agenda has plenty of cash at hand. Luke, let me come back to you. You see,
the gay agenda. No, I'm sorry, not the gay one. The trans agenda. The trans agenda has plenty of money, he says. Yeah, it's all a conspiracy. And really, it's all funded by George Soros, right? Is that what it is? Totally. Yeah, I'm going to end it here. If you want to see more, go over to my Telltale Unfiltered YouTube channel. That's where I'm going to be streaming Wednesday mornings, Thursday mornings, 10:30 a.m. I'm going to continue this. Now, if you missed it, if you missed the stream, just check, Telltale Unfiltered anyways, because I edit it down and clean it up and then upload as a normal video. If you want to see like the whole breakdown of this episode of Flashpoint, just go there and you should see it.